All right, what up, fam? I'm on the B side of a very long walk, full of a lot of reflection, taking a different route. One of the things that was on my mind, some of these issues that we deal with as men, black men, but also just men in general, probably about 85 to 90% of my clients are men. Most of those are like between 35 and 17, but that's the bulk, right? And let me preface this before I say anything else. I'm not over here saying women are perfect and flawless. Women have many issues. They're humans. We all have a lot of issues. And then some of those issues stem from the way that we create this society and demand and insist that this society continue in a way that it's not amenable to a lot of other folks, doesn't provide equity. So anyway, it's a steep hill. It's been a long walk, y'all. I think I've already walked about 3.5 miles. I'm on the way back, so this might be a 6 or 7 mile day for a walk, longer than I normally do. Anyway, so a lot of these men that I work with, whether in my private practice or students when I was working with students for about 8 years, or honestly, even before I even became a counselor, and I was doing a lot of like men's meetings and stuff, like as a co-facilitator and as a participant for about 4 years in Christian circles here in the South US. And what's really consistent is that there's a lot of very deep wounds that a lot of men have. And a lot of them don't realize that they have, and they come from other men. And it comes from a lack of intimacy with other men. Y'all hear that word, intimacy with men. Get over yourself, man. All right? Intimacy means a lot of things. It can mean romance, right? And there's nothing wrong with that if that's you. It also can mean just being close, being able to give someone a hug, being able to look a man in the eyes and say, I love you. Not love you, I love you, right? There's a difference in that. We also have to meet people where they are too. So it can be frustrating when maybe one person has more strengths in a certain situation or has increased their strengths rapidly over a set amount of time than that other person they're in relationship with, whether brother, father, cousin, mentor, spouse, whatever, right? And so all these things come together, and a lot of times these men, I'm meeting with them, will say things like, man, I've never had another man tell me that he loves me. Or I've never had another man tell me that he thinks I'm smart. Or I've never had another man who listens to me and actually says that I have some good advice. And here's what I have to say. Men, we are really suffering from a lack of closeness and intimacy. I can tell you in my own life, I realized that when we had kids. Now I have 2 daughters, and I grew up in a home where it was all male. The only person who was not male was my mom, who was a woman. And so it's a very male perspective, very patriarchal framework. But then the bigger family on my dad's side had more of a matriarchal framework, but not in a traditional sense. That's a little bit different when we talk about a lot of black families. It might be a matriarch in terms of the person who's kind of the head, but a lot of times that person's a figurehead and the father's in the background kind of silently ruling, whether positively or negatively. Or sometimes it's just that the man's not there and the mom has to kind of take over, or the grandma or the auntie has to take over, but they still operate it in terms of a patriarchy centering male identity and things. Anyway, so this whole thing, it comes down to our need as men to really go deeper, our need as men to acknowledge each other, our need as men to get past this warrior nature that's inside of us. Now, I love the warrior nature. I'm not a small dude, y'all. Like I love the warrior nature, okay? But the warrior nature comes with violence. And sometimes in this world, because it can be chaotic, sometimes violence is the only thing we have for protection. So it's like, well, we can't get rid of that. Yeah, get it. But when we don't have control of our emotions, when we don't fully understand what intimacy looks like in a platonic way for other men, with other men, regardless of sexual orientation, then that warrior nature becomes more similar to what it was a few hundred years ago. We were just ripping each other up all over this continent, all over this globe. So look, y'all, some of y'all are men who have children now, whether they are little kids, whether they're old kids. Humble yourselves. Tell them that you love them. Say, I love you. Tell them that you think that they're smart. Tell them that you are proud of them. Be vulnerable with them and share your weaknesses. Be honest about your flaws and where you're confused at in life. If iron sharpens iron, which it does, then we have to trust that we're not the only piece of iron. Come on, y'all. Y'all don't hear me. Keep walking.